Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather, and today I will be talking about my most anticipated reads of the first 3 months of 2020. Hi, I have no idea what in the hell happened with the camera positioning in this video. It changes about 4 different times, so please do me a favor and ignore that because I don't know what I'm doing, and I hope you guys don't come here for the camera expertise because it is the wrong channel for that, and I have no excuses or no words. Thank you. I love you guys. So it is currently February 11th, the day that I'm filming this, so I missed the entire month of January to talk about my most anticipated reads, but you know what? Time is a construct, so I'm still going to talk about all of the books in January that released in January that I'm still excited to hopefully get to in the year of 2020. I'm gonna be a little behind, but everybody needs some reminders, and maybe you still don't know any of these books, and you are relying on me as your sole source of knowledge, so I got you, and here are some book recommendations. So the first 2 books I actually have with me checked out from the library because, again, I'm late to the game filming wise, but I'm on top of the game books wise, which really is all that matters, right? So these 2 books came out on January 7th, and the first one is Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibanez, and this is a book centering around Bolivian politics, and I believe it's like a historical fiction fantasy, though it's more magical realism than fantasy. I did actually read the first chapter of this book. If you haven't seen my video where I read the first chapter of a few of my library picks, go check that one out. This is following our Condessa of this group of people, and she has recently been overthrown by a rival monarchy, rival government power, and so her and her people are now in hiding in the woods, and in order to make things a little more difficult for the enemy, she has actually been replaced by this woman who is acting as the ruling Condessa in her place. And so we have this kind of Princess and the Pauper kind of situation going on, and our fake Condessa actually happens to have the ability to weave moonlight and use moonlight in a way that I don't entirely understand yet, but there's different properties to it, and our real Condessa seems to be some kind of seer, and she doesn't have total control of her ability quite yet, so she is kind of in this place where she wants to do everything she can to help her people, and she's really frustrated with herself because she doesn't understand the lengths of her abilities quite yet. But yeah, that's what I know from this story. It's written very beautifully, and I enjoy the writing style quite a lot. This is definitely an anticipated read of mine, and this cover is absolutely stunning. One of my top 3 covers of the year so far, so I really hope I love this because I really want it on my shelves. The next book that came out on January 7th is Scavenge the Stars by Tara Sim. This is another one that I included in my try a chapter tag, so again, go watch that video. This is a gender-bent Count of Monte Cristo retelling, and I love revenge stories, and obviously Count of Monte Cristo is one of the originals, if not the first one, and so I was very intrigued when I heard about this, and it also seems to have quite a bit of pirate vibes, and based on some of the tweets that I've seen from the author, she has said that there are 0 white people in this book, which, as a fellow white bitch, I do not need to be in every single book I read because I just don't want or need that. So the next book that came out that is on my radar came out on January 10th, and that is The Cake King by Rosie Chase. This gives me all of the Great British Bake Off feels that I need in my literature, okay? So I just want to read off the blurb that is on the Goodreads description because it took my breath away and I need it in my hands right now. So it says, I've always been told I can't have my cake and eat it too, but when celebrity baker Michael Godwin wants a piece of me, how can I deny him? You don't. You don't deny him. You accept him lovingly in your arms and you bake him all the cakes that he wants. That's what you do. I need this book. It sounds so good. So from the description, sorry if I'm looking down, I'm just reading from my laptop because I can't memorize all of the books I have to talk about today. I just can't. So bear with me. Michael Godwin is this star baker. He's called the Cake King. And our main character, Sam, has been inspired by him and kind of gawking off of his skill and him as a person for many years. And one day she gets an invitation to join his baking competition, and this is the chance that she needs to basically make him fall in love with her and win money and just bake all the beautiful cakes. That's what I'm assuming is going to happen. I love this idea. I love the idea of books set during baking competitions. I have quite a few of them on my TBR, so maybe I should do a video just reading baking competition themed books for a week. I don't know. Let me know if you want to see that because I will happily oblige. It sounds like a great time. Like, how can this be bad? The next two books came out on January 14th, and the first one is Dark and Deepest Red by Anna Marie McLemore. I have read one of their books. I read When the Moon Was Ours, and also, again, I'm going to plug that video for the last time. I included this in my chapter tag video, so go check that out. This is a historical fiction fantasy. Do you see kind of my taste? I kind of like history with magic because it makes history even more interesting because unfortunately we don't have magic. And I cry about that on a daily basis. This is not only a historical fiction fantasy, but it's also a retelling of The Red Shoes by Hans Christian Andersen, which is one of my absolute favorite fairy tales. If you haven't read that one, go check it out. It's very gory and very dark, and it's all around a great time. And yeah, I really love that fairy tale. So go read that and then read this. This is taking place in dual timelines, which admittedly I'm not a huge fan of, but regardless, one of the timelines takes place in France during this dancing epidemic, which actually happened, by the way. Everybody seems to just keep dancing, and nobody seems to be able to stop. And then the second point of view, the second timeline, takes place when our main character finds the shoes that kind of caused the dancing epidemic. I will say that the part of this book that I read was quite confusing and a little convoluted, which is partly why I haven't picked it up since, because I can't afford having a reading slump right now. There's too many books to read, and we're starting off the year with a good start. But I will say that because I am such a fan of The Red Shoes and historical fiction fantasy retellings, it should be amazing. Okay, so the next book is an example of how I love doing these videos because I shelve these books on Goodreads willy-nilly, and I'm just like, oh, that kind of sounds interesting, and I put them in there, and I never look at them for months on end until I am forced to look at them again when I do these videos. This book, Beyond the Shadowed Earth by Joanna Ruth Mayer, is about a villainous character who wants to get a crown and wants to be a queen, and so she barters with the gods. And she barters her best friend's soul to get what she wants, which, I mean, that's a flex. I probably wouldn't do that myself, but you do what you gotta do, I guess. And once she has a crown, and years later, she's queen or whatever, and her best friend is now dying, and so she's like,
shit, you about to die, and your soul is going to be in eternal hell or whatever, so this probably was a bad idea, and I'm going to make it better.
So, she goes on a quest to find the god that she bartered her friend's soul with, but it turns out that the god is trapped in like a labyrinth kind of thing. I don't know what that means, but she has to then rescue a god to get her friend's soul back. Tell me you don't want to read that. I'm sorry. Tell me you do not want to read that. Because if you tell me that, I'm going to need us to have a conversation. Because you need to reevaluate your taste. This sounds fantastic. It also says that it is set in the same universe as her debut, which is Beneath the Haunting Sea, which I believe I have that on my Goodreads TBR as well. So hopefully I don't have to read that before this one, because this one has to do with gods, and so I really want to read this one. Unless the other one has to do with gods as well, then maybe I just need to get up on Joanna Ruth Mayer's books and figure my priorities out. But I love everything about this. If your book is titled gods, if it has any type of gods in the description anywhere, I am going to want to read it. So that checks all the boxes for me. I also love villainous, morally gray female characters. I love morally gray characters in general, but especially like women who are just angry and just do whatever they want to get what they want. I live vicariously through those female characters, and so that is everything to me. I need to check this out from the library because I did not realize how good this sounded until right now. So the next group of books I have came out on January 29th, and the first one is Seven Deadly Shadows by Courtney Alameda. This is a Japanese-inspired fantasy where we are following our main character, Kira, and she follows her family shrine one day and finds that it was attacked by demons, and she discovers that her family shrine has this ancient artifact hidden inside of it, and this ancient artifact is what the demons were looking for. And so with the help of Shiro, who is a half boy, half kitsune, as well as 7 Shinigami, aka death gods, she has to try to defeat this ancient evil and save the world. I'm sorry, what? Not just one death god? 7 death gods? And a kitsune? I need this. I love Death Note. It's probably my favorite anime ever. I tried to read the manga, but I love the anime so much more. And so the fact that there are Shinigami in here, give it to me. I will give them all the apples. I don't know if they like apples, but I will give them to them. The next book that comes out on January 28th is Prosperous Demon by K.J. Parker. All I know about this book is that it's about an exorcist who falls in love with a demon-possessed king. Okay, it's ordered, it's pre-ordered, it's on the way, and thank you very much. I will be reading it immediately. Have a great day. The next book is The Bard's Blade by Brian Anderson, and this one I am so intrigued by because of who we are following as main characters. So our first main character is a female winemaker. I don't know why that job occupation appeals so much to me. Maybe because I'm an alcoholic. I don't believe so, but that sounds great. And then her betrothed is a bard who is one of my favorite fantasy trope characters, whatever you want to call it, archetype. I don't know the proper terms for them, but there's just something so appealing about living in a medieval-esque town fantasy world and making your living singing to grumpy old people in taverns and bars and being paid in wine and beer and mead and bread and just traveling all across the country, singing songs, and probably on the brink of poverty. I don't know what about that lifestyle intrigues me so much, but I love that dynamic. So a bard with a winemaker, first of all, OTP automatically, because you know that man is living the dream. You don't want a wife who cooks for you. You want a wife who makes you alcohol. At least that's what I'm looking for, ladies. So hit me up. Thank you very much. I did just mention I wasn't an alcoholic. I think that should be said. I'm just Irish. Thank you and good night. So that was all for my January picks, and so we're moving on to February. The first book I have is actually one that I already own, and this book came out on February 4th, and that is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. If you missed my recent reading vlog where I attend the signing for this book, definitely go check it out so you can see her talking about this book and her as an individual, maybe it's just because I am a fellow Slytherin and I am completely biased, but she has the best personality. Just based on personality alone, she has become an auto-author for me, and I haven't even read her book yet, but I will say this is absolutely a 5-star prediction. So we are following Amora, who is our single point of view in this story, which I am so thankful for, because I am tired of the multiple point of views. I get tired and I get lazy and I forget them, and I am exhausted by the 50,000 point of views that we have to read about in a fantasy story. I just don't want it. Give me one. So thank you, Adeline Grace, for doing what I want, because all authors should listen to you. And this world is made up of 7 different islands, and each of these 7 islands has different magic systems, it has different fashions, different cultures, and that sounds fantastic, because one of my favorite settings are island settings, sea, anything to do with the ocean. I crave those things. Call me Aphrodite's daughter. I mean, I'm not gonna correct you, but I just love those types of settings. And there also seems to be a heavily influenced gemstone aspect of these islands as well, and love that. So I'm very excited for this book, because I believe that Amora partners up with a pirate to get whatever it is she wants to get, or do whatever she wants to do. I love pirate main characters so much. They're just fantastic in literature. I just love them, and they're always super hot, and I need to read this because it really is everything I could want and need. So the next group of books I have comes out today, the day I'm filming it, February 11th, and the first one is Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. Larkwood. That's the name. This one is following our main character, who is destined to be sacrificed to the gods. And upon the day of her sacrifice, this powerful mage comes and is like, hey, do you want to be sacrificed and die, or do you want to come with me to topple an empire and reclaim my throne and become one of the most powerful persons in the empire? And so, obviously, our main character is like, yeah, I'll do the second one. Thank you. Let's go. So this again follows, I assume, a more morally gray main character. I mean, is it really morally gray to not want to be sacrificed to the gods? If it is, I'm evil as can be, because please do not kill me. I do not want that. I love the gods, but I do not want to be with them. I would like to be here, present, Earth, in this room, right now. Thank you. I am talking a lot with my hands in this video. Is it because of the iced coffee I had today? Yes. The next book I have is Notspiner by Addie Thornley. This is a Hunchback of Notre Dame retelling. Yes. Give that to me. Who cares about Les Mis? Les Mis is so boring, exhaustive. Who cares? Nobody. Nobody cares about the French Revolution. America didn't even care, so why should we? Because they're the centers of the universe. I'm so bored with Les Mis retellings. I just do not care about Jean Valjean and his bread obsession. Eat cake, okay? Thank you. Hunchback of Notre Dame retelling? I don't even know what that means, but it sounds beautiful and gothic and ethereal. So I want to know, and I want to see it, and I want to read about it. The next book I have comes out on February 18th, and that is The Wolf of Orion Yaru by K.S. Velazzo. I know that this is an adult high fantasy, I would assume, and we are following a main character who happens to be a queen, and she has the title of Bitch Queen. I don't need to know any more than that. I don't, because I want to read a book following the Bitch Queen. That's what I want, and that's what K.S. Velazzo is going to give me. So I will be reading her book, and I will be consuming it, and hopefully writing a review for it. The next book comes out on February 25th, and that is Red Hood by Elana K. Arnold. This is a Red Riding Hood retelling, and Red Riding Hood becomes a werewolf. At least that's what I can get from the description. So that sounds great. That sounds fantastic. I would like to read that. So now we are on to March. March 3rd is very saturated for books because Chain of Gold and Crescent City comes out. I will be reading the superior one, which is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. The Infernal Devices is one of my favorite series of all time, definitely my favorite trilogy of all time. I am rereading it currently for a video which will be posted on March 3rd, so look out for that. Mark your calendars. It will be a fantastic one. This is following the children of Will Herondale and Tessa Gray. Wessa stands, how are we feeling? Because I can say that we are eating so incredibly well on this fine day. Thank you. Thank you, Cassandra Clare. I forgive you for all of your incest sins. My praise has been given. I wasn't as excited as 15-year-old me would have been if I knew that this book was coming out, but upon rereading The Infernal Devices, all of the nostalgia, all of the love for these characters is really coming through, and I'm very, very excited for this book. I'm not gonna lie. And James Herondale. Can I get an amen? That's all I need. Anyways, next we have Witches of Ash and Ruin by E. Latimer. This is a Celtic mythology witch story that is female. Bless the pagan gods. I love all of you. I remember when I was a teenager, I always looked for Celtic mythology thing. As a white person, I was just grasping at any form of culture that I could find, and Celtic mythology was where I landed. And so I am very, very excited for that, especially on that aspect, but also I really love witchy stories. I think they're great when they're done really well, and female sapphic vibes, we love that. So I'm very, very excited for this. The next one that comes out on March 3rd that I'm quite excited for is The Midnight Lie by Marie Rakowski. Our main character seems to be of a lower status, and she's quite a, for lack of better terms, pathetic character in, I guess, her position. Again, sorry for using that harsh of a word, I just can't think of English words right now. And she comes across a stranger to her, and she seems to know about this area of magic, or high cast of magic, and so the stranger tempts our main character into doing magic herself. I don't really understand the plot. Maybe it's just because I don't have reading comprehension, but basically it's magic and it's female. So I don't really need to look more into the book because that sounds great. Seems like it's more of a adventure story to find magic, possess magic, control magic. I'm not sure. And again, it's sapphic, so that's all I need to know. Let me just say that 2020 is the year of lesbians, in the year of sapphicness, because we are getting so many sapphic releases this year, which is fantastic because that's what I need. I would like to see it. So the next book I have is one of the only contemporaries I think I have in this current video, and that is Brown Girl Ghosted by Minty Das. First of all, this cover and this title, I love this so much. This is following our main character Violet, and she has this ability to kind of see spirits. So I know it's contemporary, but there is that kind of fabulism aspect to it, but from the overall synopsis, it's mainly contemporary. So the queen bee of the high school ends up dead following her leaked sex tape, which we love a young entrepreneur. No, we don't. We can't say that because they're underage. We don't love an entrepreneur. We love an entrepreneur who is 18 and of age. So with the help of her spirit that she sees, Violet is going to catch the killer and catch the murderer. And we love girls supporting girls. From the synopsis, I think we are going to avoid the whole slut-shaming trope that is often in earlier YA. And if that tackles those themes very well, this could be a 5-star. Sounds really great, and especially if these spirits have religious connotations to it, which I assume it will, and so that again is always my jam. Also, this one I forgot to mention comes out on March 24th, so keep your eye out. And finally, the last book I have to talk about comes on the last day of this said time frame, and that is March 31st. We are getting the Sisters Grimm by Minna von Prague. The little blurb here has me intrigued because it says it is a bewitching fantasy with a dark edge, evocative of V.E. Schwab and Neil Gaiman. Now, I haven't read a V.E. Schwab book yet, but I know where they're coming from when they say V.E. Schwab. She has quite a darker, edgier feel to her books, and Neil Gaiman has the very fantastical, whimsical elements. So a combination of those two, love to see it. And this seems to be following 4 girls who are half sisters, and they have elemental magic between them. But when they were 13, they were split apart, and so 5 years later, they are all trying to look for each other again and gain the full potential and the full scope of their powers. Now, that sounds fantastic to me. Love it. I also know that this book is a UK-based fantasy, which UK fantasy, I find, and I don't know if this is a common thing or just the books that I have been interested have followed this suit, but UK fantasy, it seems to be more quieter. What I mean by that is that the world is more focused on atmosphere and kind of emotions and characters rather than the large scopeness that other fantasy worlds tend to be. For example, The Deathless Girls by Kieran Millwood Hargrave is a perfect example of a very quiet, atmospheric fantasy story. And so I am very intrigued by any fantasy books published in the UK. Another thing is, yeah, we see this cover, it's like, it's kind of ugly, it's fine, it's okay. But the UK cover? Need I say more? That's all I need. I just needed to see this cover to put it on my TBR, honestly, because that's how much of a cover whore I am. Follow Cover Whores Book Club down below on Twitter. It's my book club that I host with Carly from Carly's Books. That is it for this video. That is all the books that I am excited for in the first 3 months of the year. That is already so many books, and there are still so many months of the year to go over. But for now, that is the end of this video. Let me know down below what your most anticipated read of the year is, and even, put as many down as you want, because I really love talking about anticipated reads because it requires 0 effort for me, and I can just put it in a folder on Goodreads and never think about it again, which is often what I end up doing. But I would love to hear your thoughts on any of these books and any of the books that you are interested in, but that is going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!